Hello, I'm David. I'm the Education Director at the MacRostie Art Center here in Grand Rapids, Minnesota. And today I'm going to go over the basics of Model Magic. Model Magic is air dry clay. It's made by Crayola, and when it dries, it ends up being really light. And I've got packages here that come out of what's called a class pack, and they're 1 ounce packages. I have each of the primary colors in white. And sometimes you can rip them open, like that, but sometimes they're a little hard to get open and you want to cut them open like that. But let's get these things opened up and let's start playing around with it and see what we can make. So here we've got it out of the packages. We're ready to go. We have our primary colors in white, a primary blue, red, yellow, and we want to mix up some of our secondary colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rip off some of the yellow here. And we're going to mix it up with some blue because I want some green. So, blue and yellow make green. But blue is the strongest color. So you always want to have less blue than whatever color you're mixing it with. Yellow is always the weakest color. So you always need more yellow than anything else. So with these, you can just take them and just smash them together. And one of the best ways I find to mix it is to flatten it out kind of and fold it on itself, flatten and fold, and just keep smashing it and mixing it together. Eventually, it turns out into the color that you want. And you can always adjust on the fly, like if it's too dark, you can always add more yellow, and you can always add more blue if you want it a little darker, and so on. So let's get it in there. Look, it's turning green already. It's going to be a beautiful green. That's pretty much what I want. Might want it just a little bit darker, so I'm going to add just a little bit more blue to it, and then just smash and fold. Now my hands are pretty big, so it doesn't take me too long to mix these up. If your hands are smaller, it could take a little bit longer to mix it up. But there we go. In fact, I want it just a little bit darker than that even. So we're going to add a little more blue to it and then just keep mixing. Mix it on up until it's done. Mix, mix, mix. Mixing my clay is so much fun. This clay is very spongy and it's fun to hold in your hand. It's very light too. But it can take some hand strength to get it to mix. Don't get frustrated if it's taking a while. If you need to take a break, just set it aside. Alright, so you get the idea. We've got some green here. I want to make some orange, and yellow and red will make some orange. And then I also want some purple, and some red and blue will make purple. So I'm going to mix those up and then be right back. Okay, so we've got our secondary colors now. We have green. Remember, you mix blue and yellow for green. We've got our orange, and you mix red and yellow for orange. We've got our purple, and you mix red and blue for purple. And of course, you can always add white, and that will make it a lighter color. Like if I wanted more of a lavender color, I could add some of that to my purple. Or if I wanted it like a maroon color, I could add more red. You can always add more of the primary colors to shift the colors one way or the other. The other color that I need to make for what I want to create today is some brown. And to make brown, you need to mix all of the primary colors together. And when you make brown, you want to use less blue than the other colors. See, my ball of yellow and red is bigger than my ball of blue here. If I used more blue, it's going to go closer to a gray color. And so I want it brown, so I have to use less blue. Now, brown and gray are the trickiest colors to make. So you have to kind of adjust, depending on how it kind of comes out. So you kind of just mix it together first and see how it happens. Now, if it comes out kind of purplish, you want to add more yellow because yellow is the opposite of purple. Now, if it comes out kind of green, you want to add more red because red is the opposite of green. So you always want to add the opposite color to kind of make it more what it is. And if it's too orange, then of course add some blue, because blue and orange are the opposites. But it looks like we've got a good brown going here right away. I like it already. It could be a little darker, so I might add just a touch more blue, but not too much more. It's pretty much how I want it though. Maybe it could go with, it is, you know, we could go with just a little more yellow too. Like I said, you kind of mix it up and then adjust after you get it all together. Ooh, now I'm getting the color I want here. And there's so many different shades of brown too, so you can always change it. And of course I can always add some white to it and make it a lighter tannish color if I want that as well. But this is the brown I want. That's a great brown. I love it. And when you're mixing, you know, you can see there's just a little bit of blue in there. You want to get all of that out of there, unless you're trying to do some kind of rainbow thing in there. But yeah, let's get rid of all that. All right. So let's start making what I'm going to make. I'm going to get all this out of the way. Okay, I've got my brown here. I want to start with that because it's the bottom of what I want to make here. And you'll see pretty quickly what I want to make. But I'm going to start off by kind of rolling it out. You can take the clay and roll it out a little bit. You get kind of a snake, you know, kind of shape there. And you can always take your hands, like if this is a little too big, it's too big for what I want to make. So I can just cut it with my fingers, with my fingernail, and get a good, there we go. That's a nice good snake. That's about what I want there. I'm going to leave that one there. Let me roll this one out a little bit. Get that there. Ooh, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it right there like that, and I'm going to press it down. Ooh, nice. That's what we want there. And get a little more brown. Roll it out into a snake. It's a little too long on spots. Cut it with my fingernails and stick it on there. All right. Ooh, that's a beautiful little bit right there. That's what we want. Now, for the next part, I'm going to take some red and I want to roll it into a ball. Now you can roll it into a ball on a table, like if you kind of go like in this motion, or you can put it in your hand and kind of move your hands kind of in this way. You know how I'm kind of circling them around and get it that way. Or you can just kind of shape it in your fingers there. We got that there. Now I want to take some yellow and some orange. And I'm going to take these two. And I'm going to kind of squish them together, but not mix them. I want to kind of squish them a little bit like this. And this is going to go on top of my red. And I'm going to pull it down. Now, if you want to smooth these things out that way, one of the good ways to do it is just gently move your fingers like that. You see, I'm just gently pushing my fingers down onto it to get it nice and smoothed out, because I want this to all be one shape. There we go. It's getting pretty good. And just use your fingers to gently push it here and there where you want it. This clay is really light, and it's best to be gentle with it. You always want to use gentle touches with this clay to get, you know, kind of fine details with it. Ooh, yeah, that's about what I want there. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to stick it on top of there. You know what it is yet? Any take a guess yet? All right. We got that on there. And then now I'm going to take little bits here and there of some orange. Take little tiny bits of it. Kind of roll it in my fingers a little bit. And then flatten it on one end. Get kind of like a, get kind of like a teardrop shape. And I'm going to stick that over there. Take a little bit more here. Roll that out a little bit. Get kind of that teardrop shape. And sometimes if I want that teardrop shape, I kind of just use my fingers a little bit to kind of pinch it on one end and then flatten it on the other end. Stick it right there. The great thing about the Model Magic though too is if you want things to go together, all you have to do is just stick them. But you want to make sure they're stuck though. You don't want them to fall off after they dry, so kind of stick them a little hard. Not too hard though. You use a gentle touch when you're shaping, and then use a little more of a stronger touch when you stick them on there. And then stick. There we go. And I'm going to take a bigger one and put it on the back side over here. And stick. Then I'm going to take little bits, even tinier bits of red. Stick that here and there as well. Little sticks. I'm going to stick a little bit more around here and there, and then we'll come back. All right. So I've got this little sculpture done as part of the bigger piece that I'm going to do. A nice little campfire. We're going to take it and move it over there. Next, I want to use some purple. And one of the things I like to do in some of my sculptures is to use a toothpick. So let's get some toothpicks out here. And we're going to use this to work on our next part of the sculpture. So I'm going to take some purple here, and I want to break one of these toothpicks in half. And I'm going to take some of this, and I'm going to wrap it around the toothpick. Use the toothpicks to make things stronger. Like if there's something that's kind of thin and it needs to stand up, I like to put toothpicks inside of it because that makes it stand up a little better. It's not going to fall over. Gravity isn't going to pull it down. It's one of the things, like if I just stick this up here, you can see, boom, gravity pulled it down. You know, who knows if it would stay like that. It might not. But to be on the safe side, it's always better to just put some toothpicks in there, and it makes it a lot stronger. So I need 4 toothpick segments. So I'm going to wrap these up and then come back. All right, we've got our toothpick segments wrapped up, and I like to just roll them out a little bit just to make it, you know, kind of smooth all the way around. I've got 4 here, and then I made 2 other smaller ones for the other part of this sculpture that you'll understand in a minute. I want to take this part now, and I kind of want a square. So to kind of get it like a square can be tough. You know, how do I get it completely shaped? I can kind of shape it with my fingers, but one of the things you can also do with a toothpick is I can take the toothpick and kind of use it as like a cutting tool. You see how I just cut through that right there and get a nice flat spot on that? But however you want to do it, you know, you can use like other things as cutting tools as well. Anything with kind of just like a flat edge or a point. A pencil kind of works pretty well. But yeah, so I want it like this because we got to take these and we got to stick them on there. We can get that stuck pretty well. Ooh, those 2 stuck together. And get this stuck on there. Ooh, you're starting to see what it is. And get those stuck on there. Get that stuck on there. And get that stuck on there. And then it goes opposite like this. Need to stand it up on its own. There we go. All right. And then for the next part, we need another kind of flat spot. About the same size here. Flatten it out. And this one doesn't have to be as perfect, so I'm just kind of using my fingers. And I kind of use like the side of my fingers to make like a nice flat spot too. That's another way you can do it. Get that on there. And I want to take this part and stick it right there. And this part gets stuck on right there. And they're all nice and stuck on. And bam. We want to stick this right in there as well. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. You kind of adjust it a little bit to get it to sit upright. If you can get it to sit upright, it usually will dry that way. And then once it dries, it's going to be totally fine. All right. There we go. We got a nice little chair. Bam, bam, bam. Beautiful. That's what we want. Maybe should have made the part where you sit down a little bit bigger. You can make your chair however you want. All right, so one last thing I want to put out, and we need a lot of green for that. So I'm just going to rip off a little bit, and then I'm going to move my little chair over there for now. And I want to flatten out a whole bunch of green. So you got to take it and just kind of press it and flatten it onto a table. Use your fingers and push it around a bit. There we go. Getting it in there a little bit. Nice and flat. And make sure it doesn't stick to the table though, so pull it up a little bit. One of the things you can do is, like, you could do it if you're worried that it's going to stick onto the table or whatever surface you're doing it on. You can do it on a piece of paper, because then you can always pick up the piece of paper and just kind of take it off. It's pretty easy. And then I want to take some little bits of green and stick them here and there, kind of like that. I've never made this sculpture before. I just kind of had the idea and was like, let's just make this. We'll see what it looks like. I don't know exactly how it's going to come out. You can tell me in the comments if you think it came out great or if you think it needs work. Here we go. A few little more bits of green stuck here around. I kind of think like they're little blades of grass sticking up. Maybe they're a little too big. Maybe they need to be a little smaller. But we can add some little bits here and there. And then I want to take this and stick it right there. We need our chair stuck on there as well. And oops, get it off. There we go. Get our chair stuck on. Beautiful. I got a nice chair out in front of the fire. A beautiful summer evening out in the grass with my little fire. Of course, be safe with your fire outside. And I got a chair. Might be a little too close to the fire, but it doesn't really matter. In clay. So all I have to do now is just let this sit here and it'll dry. It usually takes about 2 days or so for this stuff to dry. But when it does, it comes out pretty solid. Here's like a dinosaur I've made. I made the Flash. All of these things, you know, I made with Model Magic. I've made like a little present and a snowman. They are a little fragile. Like you can see, I've broken off the arm on this dinosaur and his tail a couple times. But if you just use some glue, you can glue it back together if any of the pieces break. And then what do I do with the rest of my clay? Now that I have the rest of this clay here, I don't want it to dry out. I want to use it again, but I'm not going to use it right now. So get a Ziploc bag and you can just put it into a Ziploc bag and zip it up. And it should stay for a long time. I've had some of these in Ziploc bags for maybe 2 or 3 months, and it was still good. Even if it gets a little hard, if it's still squishing, you know, it's still good, and you can just work it out again. So I've got all my clay in my Ziploc bag here. I threw all the colors into the same bag. Usually it's fine. If the colors touch, you know, you can usually just pull it apart and it's okay. But if you are worried about the colors mixing, you can just put every color in a separate bag. You just need more bags. But it's totally fine. Like I said, it'll stay in these bags for up to a few months and it'll still be good. As long as they're nice and tightly sealed, make sure they're nice and sealed. I hope this helps you guys to work with some Model Magic. It's one of my favorite clays. I think it's one of the easier clays to work with. You can make some cool stuff like this dinosaur. Like this is one of my favorite things I've ever made with this stuff. But it does have some toothpicks in it. I did put toothpicks in the legs to make it stronger. You know, sometimes you have to add more than one toothpick too to keep making it strong. And to use like to make like little details like in his teeth and stuff, I used a toothpick to like press it in there and shape it a little bit. You know, don't be afraid to use a little tool like a toothpick or a pencil to like do some little details every once in a while. But I hope you guys have fun making some awesome sculptures. If you make something cooler than this dinosaur, I want to see it. If you make an awesome outdoor scene with a campfire and your chair, I'd love to see it too. Make a Flash, superheroes, anything. Let me know. If you have any questions, also just let me know as well. Have a great day.